All right, so a quick video here showing how I use the TradingView execution software for a live trade and how I let orders hang. Did this during yesterday's Apex account verifications. Just didn't have an account to trade. Hopefully this video is helpful and gives you guys the information that you're looking for on my timing. So same thing like yesterday, right? If I were to take a trade here off of 52.10.25, then I'm risking about 5.5 points to enter that trade. So if I were to go, well, let me bring up, I'll show you guys how to visualize this. Okay, so you can see my order window here, right? Yes, everyone can see my order window. Okay, so say I'm setting up a sell order. Okay, we'll keep this simple by one contract right now. Tick stop loss. Okay, where do I want to have my stop loss? 52.15.50, right? So right now, one contract, if I got stopped out with an entry price 52.10.25, one contract, right, would cost me about $262.50. So if I want to buy 4 contracts and if I want to, let's work backwards now from that point, okay? So I know now one contract cost me $262, and I know that my max loss that I'm willing to take per trade is about $1,300. Then I can do two things, right? I can either look to get an aggressive entry and get my 2-to-1 risk reward at this 52.10 and buy, right, 5 units and keep my risk just a little bit above that 1,300, so maybe 4 units, right, so that I could be under that price level, right? Or, right, I could wait for a deeper pullback, buy more contracts, and have more size, right? So then I waited for a pullback into 52.11.25, right, a point later. Well, now I can buy 6 contracts, right, or get a third more exposure, right, than I could have previously. So I'll lose the same amount if I get filled there, but I'll make more money if I'm correct, and I'll have more flexibility in how I can scale out my position. So it's simply just a pro and con technique over how aggressive you want to be, right? I would rather miss trades but get deeper pullbacks and bigger position sizing than I would to see getting instant fills and dealing with drawdown on small positions. So it's just a reflection of what pros and cons I'm willing to take. I don't like taking trades where I have more than 4 points of risk, because if I can't get 6 or 7 contracts, then it's kind of a pain in the ass for me to start scaling out and having runners for when I get a big move. So it's from just like a almost like technical perspective. I want to have enough position sizing flexibility so I can actually manage my trade like a responsible adult, right? So I can do that by either waiting for a deeper pullback, right, or changing my technique. Yeah, right? So I can always work backwards to find my ideal entry price once I know what my stop loss is, right? So from a position sizing perspective, I don't ever really want to have less than 4 contracts available to me, because I like scaling out at 1R, 2R, right, and then having kind of 2 chunks for remainder. So if I can't get the sizing I want, I wait for a deeper pullback until I can. Guys, I need you to really be thinking independently, right? We're talking about one specific setup. Please do not confuse yourselves by translating everything across the board and ignoring everything else we've learned and talked about. right? This is how you start skipping steps and making premature entries and doing dumb shit. The point is to make your entry event binary, right? Either it happens or it doesn't, and the only way for that to happen is by placing your order before it hits your price. Right? We have to have the nuance to be able to separate different ideas and different techniques for those ideas. I don't know how else to describe that. Right, so here, okay, now it's coming up close towards my price, and now I just got to fill at 52.11.25. Okay, right, so now I'm in a paper trade here, got to fill exactly at my price. And now if I wanted to say close, right, a couple positions, it's buy to close, right, because I'm short. And my first target, right, would be what? What would be the price? Be 52.07, right? 25. So I want to buy limit order at 52.07.25. And that would be my 1R move. So letting that order hang, you guys saw the execution, right? There we go, got to fill. Now, what's the next target? It's the same thing here, right? When I'm hitting my profit targets, I want my profit target to either happen or not. And the only way I can ensure that is if I place my order before it gets there. Right? 52.04.25. Sorry, 52.03.25, right? So set an order there. No, you do not. Your stop will be automatically adjusted. And then in a second, right, I'm going to modify my position if I get to that 2R to place my stop loss to my entry price. Okay, a little bit of an early, a little bit of a late entry there, Michael, right? Do you remember how I literally set a limit order, right? And before that price enters, once I pick that price in my head, right, then that limit order says that exact price so that I'm not waiting for it to feel like the right opportunity, right? So what I don't want you guys doing is waiting for me to say that I'm in a trade for you to jump in or for that to be your catalyst for an entry. Because if that's the case, then you're always going to get a worse fill than me and you're going to get a worse price than me, right? I get good fills, I get good entries because I'm picking that specific level, right? So if I say I'm interested in 52.11.25 and your goal is to get a better entry than me, then do and pick a more specific price, right? That's greater than that number, but don't wait for it to feel like it's better because that feeling is not replicatable and you're going to consistently feel like you're chasing something. So then when that trade loses, you're going to lose more than I do. And when that trade makes money, you're going to make a lot less than I do. So fundamentally, that technique is exceptionally flawed and has no expected value unless you're being specific and actually setting your prices to be right above the one that I call out. Right, short, right? So we're shorts, you want to be above. If we're long, you'd want to be under. But waiting for me to say that I'm in or that it feels right is not an executionable edge. Yeah, so you want to set the limit order, right? That's very important. And so I've still got my limit order hanging for my profit target, right, at 5203.25. Right, 1 point away, give or take. All right, there we go, right? So bought a little bit to close there. Now, so I've got 2 quantity left, right? So I can go protect position, stop loss, entry price 52.11.25. And boom. Okay, now I've got my final chunk left, and I can see if I can get further separation. But again, right, here's a good example of why I want to get more position sizing. Because I could only get 6 contracts off, right? By the time I now get that big move, I don't have that much, or like that much flexibility in how I can manage this trade. So that's why I like to wait for deeper pullbacks, is because it gives me that much more flexibility in how I'm executing. Yeah, Joshua, I'd probably split the difference, go like 1.5R. So take your first one off at like 1.5 and then see if you can get your next one off at like 3R. And now, guys, right, final target would be 51.90. Fuck's sake, fuck you, Apex. What bad timing for the ID verification. And then, guys, right, so if I said final profit target 51.90, well, now I can set that there. And I've got my stop loss already set in place, right? I've got my profit target let in place. So now I've got no reason to literally do anything here besides watch. So someone asked me yesterday, do I ever walk away if I have a position on? Well, I have a plan here on how to manage this. So I could get out, right? I could go play around the golf right now, and I'm either going to hit my stop loss at my entry protection, or I'm going to take my profit target, right? And so at this point, it becomes binary, and I no longer have any emotional attachment to this decision. My entry price, Malik, exactly like we described in the Discord, looking for a short around 52.11.25, and I'm in at 52.11.25. Look at my average fill price, 52.11.25. So in the Discord, right, I always say what my entry target is. So that information should be available to you. I'm quite confident I said that out loud a few times before we entered. Nice work, Michael. Nice work. Alfred, 1,100 bucks, man. Very, very nice. That's like, what, three grand in the last 2 days? So guys, we have a really good edge here, right? We have a really nice technique, but we basically just cannot self-sabotage ourselves and overthink dumb shit, right? Like, it is so frustrating when, yeah, you guys are overthinking it, right? Don't allow yourselves to do that. Right? All it does is it costs you money, right? And then when you overthink, you think you missed your entry, and then you rush something stupid. or you do something dumb, or you ignore your stop loss, or you ignore your take profit, and you start compounding mistakes. There was a great, something that made me laugh. It's Masters Week coming up, right? We're in a great time for sports, but it's Masters Week coming up, and I'm a big Brooks Koepka fan. He's hilarious. I think he's just a psychopath on the golf course, and he's like an all-time competitor. And he did this like interview that went a little bit viral this week, and they asked him like, "What are your 10 rules for winning a major?" And 4 out of his 10 rules were basically don't think. It was don't have complicated swing thoughts. Don't think about the scoreboard. Don't think about what the weather is. Like all this kind of shit, right? And that's so much of what trading is. We can always overcomplicate our thing in the moment because the adrenaline of trying to make a decision complicates our process. That's why we try to keep things systematic. Fuck, that's why I've coded up these lines here for people to visualize. It's so that I can basically react to my signals instead of having to think X, Y, Z, right? As traders, we work within frameworks, not within absolutes. There are no absolutes in trading, right? It's nothing guaranteed to work 100% of the time. There is no setup that's going to work 100% of the time. So we cannot be solving for that. Right? So if we can stop behaving like we need to be correct 100% and start behaving as if we're optimizing for 70, then fuck, you remove so much pressure on yourself, right? From having to be perfect and do everything right that you can actually start trading the way you're supposed to trade. But there's a few people, right, that just get stuck. We get stuck in our habits. We get stuck in these behavioral loops, and then you never see progress because you get tunnel vision on doing something stupid. But eventually, you have to want to do better than that and do more than that. So, drives me freaking nuts. Because it's just self-sabotage, right? It's self-sabotage mixed with a woe is me bullshit, and I don't tolerate that. And again, right, today, why we systemize our system, right? Why we systemize those trading decisions. Yeah, let's go, Alfred. Let's go. So yeah, I think we played that pretty much perfectly here today, guys, right? And point away from my profit target, right? Final profit target. Annoyed, this is a paper trade. That fucking sucks. But if we can get back-to-back 20-point wins. Whew. Huh. Honestly, Michael, knowing what I know now and how much I love trading, I wish I realized that this was such a psychological game way before I started. Because I wouldn't have gone to law school. I wouldn't have been studying World War II history and like writing essays about Stalingrad. I probably would have read a few more philosophy textbooks. But look, guys, I have worked with hundreds of traders now in the last 3 years or something like that. And the number one determining factor of if someone is actually going to be successful is over their self-belief of their ability to actually get there, right? You have to believe that at your deepest and darkest core. Otherwise, I don't know the details of your different accounts, Steven. How have you set up those ratios? Right? So there is no like educational level that is a determining factor over how successful you're going to be. It's not a gender thing. It's not a race thing. It's nothing along those lines. It's literally having enough self-belief that you can outwork your self-doubt. And are all your account sizes the same? Can you send a screenshot maybe? Because it's impossible to answer your question with the information you provided, to be honest. I did, yeah. I graduated. My dad would have chopped my nuts off if I didn't. He was the co-signer on about $80K worth of student loans. So I didn't have a choice. All right, guys. So there we go, right? Took off my last chunk there at 51.90. Again, right? This is why I would want to get bigger pullbacks so that I can have position sizing to be able to hold longer runners, right? So that's why I like waiting for deeper pullbacks. That's why I like waiting for different combos, right? So it gives me flexibility to manage that trade adequately, right? So essentially the moral of the story here is that if you make a trading plan, you got to make it easy for yourself to follow that plan. The easiest way for me to follow my plan consistently when I'm identifying specific levels and targets is to set trades and set executions so that when it occurs and I don't have to react to that moment. So hopefully this was educational and helpful for everyone. And maybe I was a little bit too grumpy paper trading when it should have been a nice green day. So that trade makes sense to everyone. I want to understand what we did, how we did it, why we did it. Yeah, no worries. So basically our theory here is that the opening candle of the day is going to kind of help us dictate what the reasonable price action is, right? The kind of volatility that we're expecting, and then kind of a point of interest for price action to kind of focus on, if you want to call it, right? So what we're looking for then is basically separation away from that opening range. Yesterday's foundation was very bearish, right? So we saw strong selling volume, right? And a really, relatively strong looking candle shape here to the downside. So we knew that bears were mostly in control. So when we know that bears are mostly in control, our bias then is towards looking for bearish breakdowns or for continuation of basically yesterday's narrative. So what we wanted to see, right, is a high vol breakdown through that range, which occurred on this 939 candle. And then we wanted to see basically if the price action would hold outside of it. So this was our setup candle, right? A setup through. Our confirmation was an open outside and close outside the range. And then our entry was when I had a 4-point stop loss within that zone. So anywhere inside, say, this green to red area, you were getting a 2-to-1 risk reward towards that blue line and 4-to-1 risk reward towards that red line. So it was an appropriate risk reward ratio regardless of how aggressive we had to be. And I just wanted to be able to get the position sizing I needed on that play.